Hey, Miss Raylene. Long time no see. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
Good.
I'm
So,
excited to talk with you.
yeah. How's our boy doing? Your eyebrows look really good, by the way.
Thank you.
You have pretty eyebrows. I wish I could pull that off. It's like I just don't have them right here. As you get older, this part disappears.
You are
So,
beautiful. I
the
pluck them. It's painful.
wrinkles take the place of lateral eyebrows. Anywho, but Eric's good.
He's good. He's laughing. He says, Mom, you don't have wrinkles.
Yes, I did, and I earned every single one of them. But yeah, let's Eric and you want to talk about astrology, right?
Yes. Just discussing what astrology is and how it can help you. Eric says, hello, everybody. He's here. He has on a red shirt and blue jeans.
Mm-hmm.
He looks very casual, very relaxed. He says,
Mm-hmm.
hello to everybody. And so he's talking about astrology and the way that it can help you. First off, astrology is a tool. And just like a tool such as using oracle cards or going to a medium, it's that type of tool. It's a birth chart for you. When we're born, we come down with the birth chart. Not necessarily the contract that we sign,
Mm-hmm.
but it is our birth chart and it can pinpoint when we're going to experience hard times in life, or when we're going to experience good times in life. Basically what it is it shows us the flow of energy. I'm asking him for an example. And so right now the way our energy is we are in Mercury retrograde, and this is astrology. Astrology goes back from like the second century. It really goes back a far ways. So it's been around a long time. But for example, like right now we are in Mercury retrograde, and things that happen for Mercury retrograde is things come back from the past. If you notice, it starts with RE retrograde. It's like resurface, resign, reevaluate, things like that. That's what really retrograde is. A lot of people tend to be afraid of retrograde because they say it causes chaos or frustration, which is very true.
I thought that
It
was it. I thought it was always bad.
and it's not necessarily always bad. Mercury retrograde is very healing. It brings things up for a reason to be surfaced and to be healed. It's also a time of creativity for art people that are into artwork or jewelry work, any type of creativity, even really engineers, like you know how they create plans.
Well, true.
It's a good business to create a plan, like if you're in the engineer work,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So it's really good with creativity. Um, it can cause you to be low energy, so to speak, or not having no motivation. And so those are things that come up with the retrograde too. So a lot of people tend to be afraid of retrograde or they're running away from it when in reality you don't necessarily have to be afraid because there's a little secret with the energy. If you flow with the energy, you're going to flow right through with it. If you're hesitant and you're pushing against the energy, well, then the energy is going to be hesitant with you. And either way you like it, you're still going to have to flow through the energy, whether it's easy or whether it's hard.
Well, wait a
And
minute.
you
Wait a
can't.
minute. What does it look like for a person to hesitate and resist the flow of energy versus somebody who goes with the energy? I don't understand totally what that means, but
Good
I'm
question.
kind of slow, especially today. I've been
I
taking
love
care of a 2-year-old, well, almost 2-year-old, 20-month-old, all day, brains are
that's a
fried.
2 year old.
If I start talking baby
Okay.
talk, forgive me.
He says we need baby talk around here.
I know it.
But so that's a really good question. Would be I don't want Mercury retrograde to come, or I'm afraid of the frustration, or I'm afraid of what it may bring. That's hesitation to it. So then again, you're hesitating.
Uh-oh, you froze. You're frozen. Come on, there's Mercury retrograde yet again. All right, I'm going to restart. Oh, there you go.
And
Wait,
retrograde.
wait,
Oh, there we go.
you were frozen for a long time, like
Oh no.
10 seconds. That's a long time.
Okay. Did
Yeah.
you catch? No.
Not all of it. That's Mercury retrograde for you, I said.
And it is complications with electronics.
Mm.
That's also the complication with it. So do you want me to go back and explain the
The,
hesitating and going with it again?
yes, please.
Okay. So when you're hesitating with it and you're sitting here thinking about Mercury retrograde is coming, I don't want to deal with retrograde, or I don't want to deal with things that may surface, or it's going to make me not motivated. That's hesitating with it. Just go ahead and accept the retrograde and think there's something that's going to be healing instead of something that's going to be challenging. At the end of it, I'm going to have a healing moment. And it's going to be a positive outcome. At the end of retrograde, it's always a positive outcome. Always, always. There's a healing in between the weeks. Retrograde is something that typically stays anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks, and then it's gone. And it only comes typically about 2 or 3 times a year.
Okay.
So we don't have very, very much of it that we have to deal with. But when it does come, it's times of reevaluation. And, of course, a lot of people, they think they put things behind them or in the past, and then it comes back up a couple months later, resurfacing for healing or for finishing. Maybe a contract wasn't done right. Maybe you have to look over that contract. And that's actually one of the things that happens with retrograde is contracts come about. You should never sign a contract in retrograde if you haven't had that contract preparing ahead of time. So say 2 weeks before retrograde came, you were going to sign on a house loan. You had to sign on it in retrograde. That was the final day for signing on it, was through retrograde. You would be okay to sign on that because you had prepared it before retrograde hit. But say you were just going to go purchase a car during retrograde, you want to go over that contract really good, because what happens is the energy, it causes chaos. It can make a loan fall through. It can make finances change, the interest rate on a loan. So you want to go through it in detail.
Okay, should you not make any major decisions, like whether to get married or have a baby or anything during that period?
So having a baby, you can never control. If a baby comes and is born during a retrograde period, that's a whole nother topic. That child is going to have not necessarily complications, but they're going to have things in life that are challenges. But it's going to be an easy-going life, but challenges.
Is it that you had to be careful not to conceive in retrograde, or the baby born in retrograde, or
Says
both?
that when it comes to birth, it's not that you don't want to have a child or that a child doesn't want to be conceived. He says it doesn't necessarily matter in that sense. In the sense of getting married, if you get married during a retrograde, you're most likely going to get divorced. So you don't want to get married through a retrograde period. If your marriage date is at a retrograde period, change that date.
Okay, but back to the what's important to avoid: conception in retrograde, or birth in retrograde?
Neither. So
Okay.
you can have either of them in retrograde. Now, if a child is born during a Mercury retrograde, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. It just means that there's going to be some challenges with the baby, such as premature birth, such as addictions with the child as they get older, confusion with the child. He's talking about being gay or straight. That's confusion, not knowing what they want in life. And you can find out if you were born through a Mercury retrograde by simply getting your birth date and searching Mercury retrogrades for the year that you were born, and see if you were born anywhere during that time.
Cool.
Really free to anybody. You can do it that way. Or you can go to an astrologist and have them look at your chart and figure things out. But everybody's chart is different, and every Mercury retrograde is going to be different for everybody. So those are some things that you can look out for and some things that you don't want to do. But for everybody, it's going to be different, because we have, so for me, I'm a Leo. And so for Leos, it's going to be different, because our ascending, our rising signs are different. Our sun signs are different. So it can cause more frustration for others, and it can cause more healing for others, or more happiness for others. So for everybody, it is different, but ultimately, Mercury is a healing, or Mercury retrograde is a healing state.
Okay.
So
Well,
don't be afraid of it, guys.
I don't understand. Good. I don't understand about astrology. What does our soul have to do with where planets and stars are in the universe, or the solar system, or whatever, or both?
He says everything. He says, think about it, Mom. He says we would figure things out from the stars. He's talking about president debates, things that were figured out from the stars, but specifically our souls come from the stars, from up above. Our planets, the way they orbit the Earth. Some planets don't get along with each other, so they can cause frustration, and that's what causes the frustration here on Earth. So it's really about where the planets are in your natal chart, how it's going to affect you. But the way that the planets are is because we come from the planets essentially. The stars are where we come from, and the stars are where we get our guidance from. He's talking about
Well, I thought
the
we came
milk.
from source. I'm sorry. I thought we came from source. What do you mean, Eric, that we come from the stars? Our energy,
Yes,
energy as
the
a spirit
energy,
comes from the stars? And the stars, I guess, are
soul,
part of
the
source
soul.
because everything is source.
Yes, exactly. But he
Okay.
says stars have answers to them. The way that the stars are placed, they have answers to them. He's talking about the Milky Way.
Hmm.
You notice how the constellation is in the form that it is.
Hmm.
He says, where do you think it comes from? He says, there's source out there. He says, there's knowledge out there. He says, this is where we get knowledge from. He says, it's not necessarily where we come from because we come from source. He says, so we're all a part of this big collective. But you can get the answers from the stars, from the planets, Jupiter, Mercury, all of our planets that are surrounding Earth. The thing with retrograde is going backwards. We never go backwards as Earth. We continue to just orbit. Earth never goes backwards.
Okay.
So you're going to get the assumption of things coming from the past resurfacing. That's the backwards that you're going. Does
Hmm.
that make sense to you?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
What
So
about oh, go ahead.
using the planets as what the planets are doing and how it's affecting the Earth and our solar system.
Hmm.
That's going to be how it affects each individual person because not every planet is affecting every person. It's specific to each individual.
Okay. Well, what determines that?
Your chart, your rising sign, your ascendant sign, who you are, the person that you are. So, thinking of astrology, we know about like typical horoscopes, right?
Hmm.
Your horoscope can tell you basically who you are, the person that you're likely to be, your good traits and bad traits, right?
Okay.
Astrology uses the same thing. We use the planets, we use the zodiac signs. Thank you. That's what it's called. It's called zodiac signs
Okay.
to determine information and to help us figure out a little bit about the person, of who you are.
Okay.
So he's switching to like the moon. So we've got the planets, we've got the moon as well.
Uh-huh.
So say December 3rd, we just now had a super full moon. What
Oh.
is super full moon? It brings about it intensifies the moon is what it does. The energies of the moon is intensified by about 100.
Mm.
And so it brings together closures, or whatever. Say if you set an example or not an example, an intention at a new moon, then whatever you set at the new moon is going to come to fruition at a full moon. But
Oh.
specifically with the super full moon because it's more powerful. So the more intent that you put at that new moon, it's going to come to fruition. Even if you're not putting intent and you have a goal that you're working for, say you're in school and you want to be done with school by the end of the month,
Hmm.
you set that goal for that. The moon's going to help you to achieve it. So it plays a huge role. It plays a vital role
Mm.
in our charts and who we become and who we are.
So if you have an intention, go ahead and try to set it during a new moon and work toward having it manifest itself in a full moon, super or not.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yes.
so how do you get information from the stars? Is that because, well, information, knowledge is energy too, right? Like everything is energy. And is that part of the stuff of stars is energy, and some of that energy is information, or how does that work?
He says all of that energy is information.
Okay. Oh, interesting. What if somebody lives on Jupiter? Would they have a whole different horoscope?
Yes. A whole different horoscope.
Yeah, because things are retrograde in Jupiter, but not on. Okay,
So you see how
interesting.
Jupiter is. Jupiter is further from us.
Hmm.
He said, think about where Earth is sitting right now in the solar system and think about where all the other planets are sitting.
Hmm.
Each planet is going through their own shit. They have their own things that they're going through. Here on Earth, each person is going through their own individual stuff, whether it's happiness, joy, sad, grief. There's things that are going on with each individual person.
Okay.
What's happening out there in the solar system is huge because those planets are playing a huge role in everybody's charts.
Okay.
And the planets are not exactly, all of the planets are not the same for everybody because we're all different. We come in at different times of the world, of
Mhm.
birth. We're all birth. Birth time is
Yeah.
different, birth date is different. So their planets are going to be different. We all have rising signs, ascended signs, moon signs, and that's all something that you really want to get the information on so that way you can know exactly how that certain planet is going to affect you.
Okay. Well, so what is it about the time of, and date of birth that makes any difference at all? Like I was born um, April 21st, 1955 at 1:01 in the morning. What's why does that determine so much?
Well, he says it's really a big deal because that time is the time that you came in. He says even if it was 5 hours later, you would have a different birth chart. He says because the planets are moving. Even though Earth is, you can't feel Earth move, the planets are moving around you. And so there's things happening every second. Literally every second there's something happening. So that minute that's delayed of birth or that minute that's, after your birth,
Hmm.
something has changed. So the planets have moved, the planetary system is changing. That's why it's important for that time.
Okay, so I mean, you arrive, and you flash freeze where all the planets and stars and stuff are in a relationship with each other, and that determines your natal chart.
Yes.
What else is
Very,
there beside? Oh, what is it? Does it affect our chakras or the meridians or anything? The,
yes,
the,
you
the
can find, so astrology, so we come in with past life stuff,
Yeah.
and we also come in with a contract, so to speak, with lessons that we want to learn. So he says, yes, it does affect your chakras because it has Chiron. Chiron is the wound. So Chiron is the wound, and we can see what age you were when you had Chiron surface your chart.
Wait,
That's
what's
going to be when you have
Chiron?
something. It's a
It's
planet.
oh, it's a planet. Where is it?
It's the last far. It's new. They just found it,
Really?
and it's, I'd say, probably about 5 years ago did they find the planet.
And what is it? It's a wound, you
It's
say?
the wound. Chiron
Wound.
is wounded healer. That's
Oh,
what we call it in
wound.
astrology, the wound. So we can look at your chart and it'll tell me at what degrees. The degrees is the age that you had trauma, something that is affecting you right now.
Oh.
And so that's why I said everybody's chart is completely different.
So
But
you look at Chiron, the position where Chiron was at the moments of trauma that you had, or
yes,
at the moment of your birth, at the moment of trauma.
no, at the moment of trauma, because you're not birthed with the trauma. You come in with the experience and you have that trauma that sits.
Okay.
So in everybody's chart, I can pinpoint what age they had something that was traumatic and that's still
Wow.
affecting them.
That's
That's
amazing.
how accurate it is.
Hmm.
But going back to what we were discussing besides the Chiron that he just interrupted me with, now I completely lost my train of thought and I absolutely hate when that happens. It happens when I'm doing channeling and he blurbs in there.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Slow down,
So
Eric.
yes, when it comes to the moon and all of the planets and how they affect everybody and the birth time, that birth time is actually very important. If you don't happen to know the exact time you were born, a lot of people don't. Ask your mother if she knows if it was more morning or afternoon, because that plays a huge factor as well, if it was
Oh,
morning or afternoon,
okay.
because that's when planets are really shifting.
Hmm.
Um, he's talking about how the information from your chakras, he's going back to where he left off now, how the astrology chart or how astrology can affect it, doesn't necessarily affect it. It just shows what you come down with.
Hmm.
He's giving you as an example. Is it okay if I do
Sure.
it?
I don't care. Open. Yeah.
You,
Wear everything on my sleeve. Pardon me?
your ascension is in Capricorn. It's also
Okay.
in your first house. So what this tells me about you is that you're here to solve mysteries, to find out about yourself, to do like self-care. That's really important.
Okay.
It's house of self. And Capricorn, when we think of Capricorn, they're very blunt. So you tend to be very blunt when it comes to your self-care and when it comes to figuring out mysteries, problem solving. You're a problem solver.
Well, maybe
Thank
that's
you. Yes.
why I wanted to be an internist, figure out, try to diagnose people.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly, diagnosing them and being the problem solver.
Hmm.
So being that that's where it fits with you, that tells me the person that you are, the self person that you are. And then for me, Mine is not in Capricorn. Mine is in Leo. My ascendant is in Leo, which is really strange. And so I
Really?
tend to be very blunt too as well. But what I'm here for is healing. I'm helping people. That's what Leos do. They're very much blunt, but they're also here to help people. They're the heart. They're the healers.
Uh,
So
oh, okay.
seeing
They're the
changes
healers of
every
what? You
they're the
froze.
healers of the world.
Healers of the world. Okay. Don't
There's a
talk.
connection.
Okay. Good. You froze for a little bit, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So
I was trying to.
what is what do you mean
So,
by houses and ascending and all that stuff? What's a house? You got to dumb it
so
down
there's
for me, girl.
12 houses.
12
There's 12
houses.
houses in your chart. Each house represents something different. Now, so for everyone, it's going to be completely different. But the first house is always the self of like self, the
Okay.
house of you, self
Mhm.
house, the self of you, true self. There's the second house. There's the third house. There's the fourth house. Each one represents something else, and they have about you can probably talk about each subject for about an hour on each one. That's how much they represent and
Mm.
what they bring to you.
So one might be a career house, one might be a relationship house,
The
things like
12th
that.
house is your career house.
Career. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
The third house is relationship, but there's so much more that goes with them, so you can't just
Yeah.
put one thing in with them.
Mm-mm.
Um, so right now, for everybody, what everyone's experiencing with this full moon, it's going to be like love. It's going to be happiness.
Oh,
So
good.
that's what energy is bringing about. It's also coming in Gemini. The full moon was in Gemini, and that's why it's bringing about love. It's
Mm.
also bringing about like career changes for a lot of people,
Okay.
which is strange that we're in Mercury retrograde. So
Yeah.
just see how the energies are chaotic and also not so chaotic at the same time. It can bring about good, positive outcomes.
But do you really want to make a career move when Mercury's in retrograde?
No, you don't. But you can start looking for a job,
Yeah,
but
but
you
just
don't
not making
start
the decision.
exactly. You don't want to sign that paper if you are hired during Mercury retrograde.
Yeah.
You can
Okay.
do that if you were looking for the job 2 weeks before retrograde came,
Hmm.
and now they're calling you during retrograde. You can't take the job because you started planning it ahead of Mercury retrograde.
Yeah, I'd like to see how that happens. Look, dude, I will take the job, but I'm gonna have to wait until this Mercury retrograde is over with. Yeah, that's gonna go
Right?
really well. Okay, what does it mean ascending? The so and so is ascending.
There- there's different ways. You have so ascending is like going to a higher level. You're ascending, you're becoming more aware of consciousness, of your higher self, of who you are, of other beings out there, of spirituality. You're becoming more of an ascending, you're becoming higher in
Okay.
what you are. But in the form of your, okay, so I'm pulling up your chart really quick, Elisa, so I can
Yeah, and you guys,
try to
I will
describe it.
make that available to everybody um, when I post this. So when I post it on the blog.
So your ascendant is in Capricorn. Now,
Okay.
what does that mean for you? Your ascendant essentially is going to tell you key to self-discovery. It also tells you how to express yourself as an individual. It's not much about your identity, but it's more of how you choose to express that identity,
Okay.
your primary motivation in life. So that's the ascendant. And it's really interesting because it's in your first house, which is self of you.
Okay.
That's your house. And
Okay.
so you really come in for self-care. That's something that you really come in for. So there's Chiron, there's Pluto, there's the North Node, there's the South Node, there's the Midheaven. The Midheaven is really interesting. I love the Midheaven. The Midheaven it tells you about your public life. This includes social statuses, your chosen profession. It can also show you how to crave attention. It can be how you want attention or how you perceive to have attention coming to you, how you receive it, and how other people's perceive you as you receive the attention as well.
Okay.
Attention.
So
Your
basically, it
midheaven
means
is in Scorpio.
you're expanding in that self discovery or whatever when it's ascending, right?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
Yes. And midheaven is also very spirituality. If you have a midheaven that's going to be Your midheaven is in the 10th house. That's actually pretty spiritual, and you're also Scorpio. So when you think of Scorpio, scorpions, they're very not nice creatures, right? It can be mean with each other.
Yeah.
You can be
Yeah.
very, you require a profession that gives expression to the resourceful side of your nature. This could be literally working with others people's resources or investigating work. And that's what you're doing. You're investigating the afterlife if you
Well,
think
that's
about
true. That's true.
it. So your
So,
midheaven is right where you should be. It's
okay.
you're doing what you should be.
Oh, awesome. So, Erik, I mean, wait, one more before I talk to Erik. Now, obviously, we have different phases in our life: childhood, adolescence, young adult, middle age, whatever. Do you have just different chapters in your
You do.
astrological chart?
You do. Different chapters. That's a really good way to explain this. So I'll use myself as an example. Right now, it's called a Saturn return that I'm going through. You go through a Saturn return really from 28 to about 30. It starts, the big Saturn return starts at 29, but you feel it around 28 years of age. And so with your Saturn return, that's actually your childhood resurfacing, things from childhood, friends,
Oh.
relatives, school, you high school reunions, things like
Okay,
that.
yeah.
This comes back through your Saturn return. So yeah, there's different stages in life that we go through. There's different types of events that we go through. Have you ever heard of the midlife crisis?
Oh, yeah.
So often you see people having a midlife crisis around the age of 30 and around the age of 50.
Hmm.
It's no surprise because the Saturn return comes back at those ages.
Ah,
Saturn return can cause like midlife crisis.
yeah.
The 50, when you get it when it comes back around 50, that's when you have the thoughts of, did I do what I wanted to do with my life? Am I happy? Am I satisfied? What do I need to change? So you have the ability to change things around age 50, your Saturn return, because you have the energy of Saturn. Saturn takes a while. It takes 29 years to orbit the planet. It takes 29 years to orbit your chart one time. And so it's a very slow moving planet.
Okay.
You typically only get through Saturn about 4 times in your lifetime, if
Okay.
that.
Oh, wow.
And so it's a very slow moving planet. So what Saturn does is it brings changes to you slowly and
Okay.
actively.
Okay. So it seemed like I heard like several years ago that the dates of the zodiac signs has shifted. That they figured it wasn't really, you know, how they thought. Is that true?
It is true. It has shifted. And so now they are, it's not by much, it's by a little bit. Um, so you can actually, Aries is March 21st through April 29th. Taurus is
Oh,
April
so I'm
20th
Aries
through
now.
May 20th.
I'm not Taurus anymore.
It changed, you see?
Wow.
By a whole lot, by a little bit. And with you, let's see what your rising sign is, Elisa. I get all the information from a program, you guys. It's not something that's
Cool.
created.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
an app. It's a program that we use. You pay for the program. And so the sun is the rising sign, by the way. You're in Taurus.
Oh, I
So
am
you
in Taurus.
Taurus. That's your rising. So you're going to have more of a Taurus background.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I feel. So but my sign is Aries,
It is.
but the rising sign is Taurus. Okay. Now, I want you to give information on. You do astrological natal charts for people.
I do. Yes.
Ooh, how can they find out theirs?
So you go to my website and click on astrology, and there's links for a birth chart, and there's a link for a prediction chart, or tab, sorry, not a link. The difference between a birth chart is the birth chart tells you about who you are, what you're likely to do, obstacles that you are likely to have, people coming in and out of your life, whether it's mom, dad, the job that you are likely to have, um, fears that you are likely to have, ups and downs that you are likely to have, children that you are likely to have. So that's the birth chart. The prediction chart is something that you use to help you for 1 year. You get the prediction from the day that I run the app or that I run the program, and then you get it for a year. And this tells you what to expect, whether it's healthcare changes, positive healthcare, healthcare of another person, perhaps job decrease,
Hmm.
losing a job, getting a new job, increase in income, things like that, the birth of
Okay.
a child, new family members coming in. It'll tell you what to look for during these time frames, and it gives you the dates of when it's possible to have it. There's even times where it tells you not to make money decisions or not to sign on papers. And so I've had people that have come to me that were about to purchase a home, and they wanted to look through the chart to see if the energy was beneficial for them that day. And it had actually showed that it was not going to be beneficial. That person's loan ended up falling through.
Oh boy, it's
So
amazing. I mean, you did my astrology thing, and I thought it was just so in depth. I mean, really covered everything, pages and pages and pages. It's pretty cool.
it's a lot. It's a
So,
lot to read. They're typically about 15 to 30 pages each one. So, and it comes directly to your email, and it comes very quickly. It doesn't take me long to get it because I'm not having to sit with each individual and go over the chart. It goes over in detail with you, so that way you understand it.
right.
A lot of people, they end up getting charts, and they're not the detailed charts. It's just a wheel that they're looking at, and they're not
Oh
sure
yeah.
how to interpret it or what it
Yeah.
is, So they're like, what do I do with it? You want to get one that's in detail, that's going to explain things for you. So it is a lot of reading. It's anywhere from 15 to 30 pages with the birth chart and with the prediction chart.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And it's www.angelmedium7 or angel7medium. I can't remember. The numeral
It's,
7.
it's angelmedium7.com, and that's the number 7.
That's right. And Erik,
And
tell us about your astrological information and how we can better understand you through that.
he says, well, you can better understand me by using the planets to your benefit. He says, so right now we are having Jupiter for the next year and a half, about not right now. Jupiter is very the planet of spirituality. Thank you. Do you know on Halloween they say that there's a thin layer between the other side and
Yeah.
Earth?
Yeah.
The veil goes down. Thank you.
Is that
So
true?
right now, he says no.
Oh, okay. That sounds cool.
But using that term, the veil is low right now for the next year and a half. So how you can connect to Erik a little bit more, the energies are present for us. Everybody, feel how sensitive you are. Feel your emotions. Feel other people's emotions and realize, is this mine or is it somebody else?
Yeah.
Feel when Erik is around you. Right now is a time of sensitivity. So figure out where the planets are, what those planets are going to be doing, how long they're going to be here for, and how you can use them. That's how you can use the planetary system, astrology, in connecting to Erik or spirit guides. You can even find out if it's likely for you to have a spiritual job. That's something that's really easy to pinpoint in an astrology chart too.
Yeah.
And it depends on which house your midheaven falls in.
Of course. All right, but Erik, looking at your astrology chart, what could I have known about you more when you were alive?
Challenges. He
Yeah.
says the one thing that my birth chart pinpoints is I would have challenges with overcoming myself, accepting, and then with other people accepting me. He explains that he accepted himself towards the end, and then he got tired of people not accepting him for who he was.
Yeah. It's too bad. What else can you tell me about your birth chart?
I was a prankster. I was a jokester. I got
I
pleasure
still are.
out of
Yeah.
making people frustrated.
Could your predictive chart have predicted what ultimately happened to you?
He says no, it wouldn't have said that death would have happened at this point. It would have said that my mind was in a lost place at that time and my emotions were kind of scattered. You could have had that,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
But in terms of I was going to die, no. He says we have free will, Mom. So
Well, that's true.
remember that with free will, our chart comes down and it's just something to guide you. So your chart is not going to tell you that you're going to die during this time because you have free will.
Oh, okay.
He said, Mom, I had options of staying or leaving. I decided to leave when I wanted to. He said, so it couldn't have been pinpointed. That would have been my death.
Okay. All right. Anything else you want to share about astrology?
He says it can help you figure out life challenges, relationship challenges. Even if you're in the right relationship or if you're in the wrong relationship, there's lots of ways to go about figuring this stuff out. So find an astrologist, you guys, and get. So there's a isn't something that I offer yet, but this is something that is out there. If you can get the birth info for you and your partner, you want to look for a relationship chart, have somebody pull that for you and combine the information together, and it'll tell you if it was likely to stay or if you're likely to break up. And it'll also tell you the challenges that are going to be in the relationship or the happiness that's going to be in the relationship.
Now, is that something you don't offer but will offer eventually?
Yes, I'm actually in the process of getting it up on my website.
Okay.
And there's also different types of astrology. There's Western astrology, which is what I do. There's Chinese astrology. There's Hindu astrology. There's Thai astrology. There's a lot of different types, and it all pretty much surrounds the planets, the planetary systems.
Well, Erik, is there one that's better than the other? Erik? More accurate? More accurate?
He says that the Western one is finding to be more accurate.
Okay.
The Chinese uses yin and yang, that type of energy.
Okay.
I don't quite understand how the Chinese one works. It's really complicated to understand.
Okay.
The Western is more logical, and you can get information quickly from it.
Okay. Anything else you want to share, Erik or Raylene?
He says he loves you.
Oh, I love you too. All right. Well, this is awesome. I will post this. When I post it on the blog, I will include my astrological information if you care. Or wait a minute. Do I have Erik's? I can't remember.
We can do. Well, he was just saying that we can do Erik's astrology chart.
Yeah, if you want. What do you think the blog members would be most interested in seeing? Probably yours.
Probably Erik. He says
probably.
Because it can pinpoint some of the challenges that I went through in life.
Yeah.
And it can help others. It'll be Erik's. I'll get that to you.
All right. Well, thank you. And check her out, Raylene, at www.angelmedium7thenumeral.com.
Yes. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Erik says he loves you. Bye, honey.
Bye.